Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome back to the On the Mat Wrestling Show with Huge Pop Show guys, Donnie Da Silva and the referee Jimmy Corderas, who still should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. You guys on your show should do up, get that on, Donnie. Let's get that on. He's a Hall of Famer. All right.
Listen, Joe, I know, and everyone knows that Jimmy Corderas is definitely a Hall of Famer. Listen, if I was going to eat up our airtime every single week talking about how much Jimmy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, we wouldn't get through much else. So I think the powers that be, whether that's Paul Levesque or Nick Khan, they're going to put into the Hall of Fame whoever they want. And when they decide to open up that conversation and have extra personnel, not just in-ring talent, referees, backstage staff, video producers, seamstresses, hell, everybody. Like when they decide to really open it up, it's going to be interesting. But right now, the Hall of Fame is nothing more than a television show. So because it's a television show, they're not going to pop to see,
Right. I have to ask Jimmy, are you willing to sell your soul to the one guy? Dwayne, put it that way.
Hey, it would be a nice offer, I guess. I understand it is more or less a television show, and to Donnie's point, it's true. Nobody ever paid attention to see the referee and all the other backstage crew, as hard as they work, and they do deserve their flowers. They absolutely do, because you can't run a show without them. Yeah. It absolutely then it becomes a house show. You don't have a TV show anymore if you don't have these people. So, and as far as advocating for myself, I kind of feel weird doing that.
That's right.
And to answer your question, Joe, would Jimmy sell his soul? I think Jimmy might sell his soul for a good chicken souvlaki dinner.
Who wouldn't? All right.
Well, depends on from where. There's two places here in Toronto I would drive through a storm to get to, and I don't want to give cheap plugs here, but I think you know who they are.
All right, and Donnie, one question before we start the preview of Night of Champions. Of course, every last Friday of the month, you have a great independent wrestling card, Super Kick. I'm training, saying my prayers. Well, let's face it, I'm eating. All right, so to get there and to try to do a drop kick or something. But tell us this week, who do you have planned, or what is planned?
Super Kicked. So it's going to be Friday, November 27th. November. What am I saying? June 27th. I'm in a different.
Wow.
He was in a heat lays this week.
Jesus.
I was just about to check my calendar.
I've been sweltering. Friday, June 27th, at the Great Hall on Queen Street West. There are several great matches that are lined up. The one that I'm the most stoked about right now is the main event, where Jesse V, the longest reigning Super Kicked heavyweight champion, and quite honestly, the best unsigned professional wrestler in the business today. Jesse V is going to be going one-on-one with a man who's been wrestling 10 years longer than Jesse V has been alive. Wow. And that's Al Snow. And Al Snow, of course, you talk about Hall of Famers, there's a guy that could easily step into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
A man who really, although never given a top spot in any company he was in, always made his company money. And that's the primary job of a professional wrestler. Huge in ECW.
Great job at OVW also. So
he's great in OVW. His television show on Netflix, Wrestlers, was a smash hit. He was huge during the Attitude Era of the WWE, a staple in TNA, both in front of and behind the camera. So that's going to be great.
I can't believe he hasn't lost his head. In all these years, he hasn't lost his head. All right. So let's get to, first of all, before we talk about it, all this problems in Saudi Arabia and all that. Jimmy, do you have, is the show going, hopefully, knock on wood, without any trauma there with what's going on in the world, put it that way?
Well, as we're talking right now, everything seems to be business as usual. My understanding is everyone there is being well looked after. It's it's understandable. Everybody's going to be nervous. I mean, with the situation that's going on over there, but things, as far as watching the news, at least, seem to have settled down a little bit. But anytime you have a volatile situation, you're always going to be on pins and needles. And as someone who has traveled to Iran and Iraq for tribute to the troops in Afghanistan, I mean, those were those were scary times. But at the same time, once you get into the performance of it, it's almost like you escape that world, if that makes sense. It's almost like a little escape until the performance is over, and then you're back to reality and going, whew, we got through that. Thank you.
Can you imagine, Jimmy, if Vince McMahon was still there and they were asking him whether or not the show was going to go forward? You know what Vince's response would be. This is when people need us to put smiles on faces, pal.
Right.
So the question to you is, if you had a chance, would you still go for this week's Night of Champions?
It's funny. Thinking about it now, at least in this current regime, you have that option. Whereas before, you may opt not to go, but it would be faced with consequences. Now, it's more, it's a friendlier atmosphere, and, they understand if someone does not feel comfortable going and is adamant that they really do not want to go, that's okay. And it's not going to be like you're afraid to lose your spot now because you decided not to go. It's not going to be like that. It's not that atmosphere anymore.
I'm really wondering.
And personally, if I was asked to go, I would politely decline.
I'm wondering, Jimmy, if that match between Dominic Mysterio and AJ Styles, if one of those two put their hand up and said, I'd rather not go.
It's very, very, very possible. I mean, and it's easily explainable in this situation where you could say an injury, whatever the case may be, and explain it away where he's just saying that so he can be with mommy. You know what I mean? Well, there's ways to get around it, but it's very, very possible that either Dom or his family or somebody was uncomfortable with him going, and he decided, hey, guys, I'd like to opt out of this one.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
No.
All right, we'll touch on that maybe next Premier Live event, but I'll go start off with Donnie with this one. Karrion Kross, Sami Zayn, they've been building and building and building, and now they have a match in Saudi Arabia. By the way, it starts at 1 p.m. Night of Champions, 1 p.m. So we're watching wrestling early. Come on. All right, Donnie, who do you like in that one?
Joe, are you familiar with the business concept of the tipping point? Have you heard that term? Okay.
Yes.
So for anyone out there listening that's not familiar with the tipping point, it's a business construct where they talk about when something is at the apex and there's an opportunity for it to be tipped one way or the other. One way is a windfall. The other way is like you're falling off a cliff. This is Karrion Kross this weekend. Mm-hmm. This is the tipping point of his WWE career. If after all of the online screaming, if after all of the crying, and after all of the outrage that he's been ignored and benched and not given his flowers and his opportunity, if he comes out and lays an egg, that's the end of Karrion Kross. That's it. I'm sorry. Now, do I think he's a great character? 100%. Do I like him individually? 100%. But there have been times on WWE television and NXT television in particular where what you see in the ring is not nearly as compelling as all the stuff he does in his vignettes and his promos and his entrance. If that happens, this will be the last time you see Karrion Kross on the WWE PLE. I'm going to tell you that right now. That all being said, if I'm Karrion Kross and my career is literally as a shoot on the line, you're in the ring with the right guy. Because Sami Zayn is one of the most underrated workers on earth. He can absolutely go in there and do anything. in terms of the match itself and how it plays out, really fascinating. All logic would suggest Sammy has to win. All logic would suggest, unless they're really planning to put a rocket onto Karrion Kross, who, by the way, is coming up for contract renewal in the next couple months. So is that what they want to do? It's not typical WWE fashion to launch a guy for the very first time right before he's set to expire, but they might be interested to see, what do we have here? You know, I don't really have a strong sense other than coming off the loss to Randy Orton and being built as a legitimate, you know, King of the Ring winner. I think Sami Zayn should win this, but Karrion Kross probably gets over without going over. As long as he does his part, bell to bell.
All right, Jimmy, go ahead.
No, I get Donnie's points completely because we're on the same wavelength. This is why Donnie and I get along so well. we're of a similar mindset, but I will disagree on one thing. I think it is imperative that Karrion Kross needs the win here.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times we talk about it, and Donnie mentioned it, that you can get over without going over. And that is 100% true. But in this situation, like Donnie said, Karrion Kross online in backstage segments has been getting a reaction, has got the WWE universe and fans interested in him. And like you said, Donnie, he can't lay an egg here. He has to deliver. And as much as wins and losses don't matter in certain situations, I think in this situation it does. And Sami Zayn does not lose anything by eating a pin here, however it happens. Sami Zayn right now is so loved by the fans. It's all in how it's presented and how they present the finish. There's a way to do everything where nobody loses any steam, but at the same time, I think Karrion Kross really, really needs it here. He needs that win.
If I was booking this, Jim, you know what I would do? I would do some kind of a schmaz towards the end of the match where there's a ref bump. So obviously I'm not opening with this shit. But there's a ref bump. And as a result of the ref bump, maybe it's part of a double down, right? Like double down into a ref bump, something. But as a result of that, Karrion Kross is first to his feet, recovers, hits something significant on Sammy, and it's over. And because he's a heel who's getting cheered, the fans like him. The fans should be counting along 1, 2, 3, and there's no ref. Okay? Now he's up. He's hot. Scarlett's hot. They're trying to revive the official. They're distracted. They're pissed. Now he's going into full heel dissension mode. Like, what the hell? And then that's when Sammy comes up and takes advantage and beats him, which also allows you to continue this.
Interesting.
Right? I agree with everything you guys said, but one thing you guys got to remember, the perception is Sami Zayn is going to be the next heavyweight champion. He's been losing. Can he? I agree. He can afford to lose, but how many times are you going to make this guy lose before? And you're saying he may win the title and he's going to be the next heavyweight champion. And don't forget, I don't know if you guys know this, Chad Gable is out with an injury now. Chad Gable was one of the guys who carried the company on his back also. So they need Sami Zayn to be kept strong. I agree with what Donnie said also. You get a schmoz, maybe Karrion Kross puts his leg on the rope, referee doesn't see it, and Sami Zayn gets the win, and then he becomes, Karrion Kross, a monster, more monster heel. It should be interesting because, like Donnie said, Sami Zayn is very underestimated and a great wrestler, and not many people look at the great wrestlers now, put it that way.
So two quick things, Joe. Number one, there's absolutely 0% chance that Sami Zayn is the next world champion because he's not in line and he's not in the King of the Ring tournament, and the winner of that match will end up with a title shot. Right. And then for the other title, like, we have people all lined up. So Is Sami in the mix? Yes. But right now, as Jimmy and I have been talking about over on Huge Pop, there's about 9 or 10 guys in the mix.
Right.
So it's a deep top contender pool. As far as your other statement, I'm going to call you out on it. I know the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, loves Chad Gable. He hasn't carried anything. He's not carrying the company. Let's not
No, I'm
exaggerate.
sorry. El Grande Americano is. Sorry.
He's not carrying the company. He's not even carrying the undercard. He's carrying nothing. Now, is he good? Yes.
Yes.
He's very, very good. But to say he's carrying, look, Drew McIntyre carried WWE through the pandemic.
Yes.
Roman Reigns carried WWE from 2020 and the next 4 years. Those guys carried the company. Chad Gable's a nice hand and a really talented guy, but he hasn't carried anything.
If you want
That's
to draw
not how he hurt his neck.
No, if you want to draw a comparison, Chad Gable is like post-Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana right now.
Right now he is.
Now he is, and I see bigger things in the future for him. And on another note, I feel really bad for two superstars, not only Chad Gable but El Grande Americano, because they're both on the shelf right now. It's unfortunate timing for both of them.
Have you heard that he's on the shelf or no? Never mind. All right, let's get to the next.
Sorry, I just want to throw this out there. Did you hear the hot rumor that Grande Americano may in fact be German?
Are you sure he's not Greek either?
No. There's a hot rumor out there that Ludwig Kaiser may in fact don the mask as Grande Americano.
That would be interesting.
But I'm here for it.
I know a lot of people are going to ask, and I'm going to say this, Donnie. I usually won't say this, but if Ludwig Kaiser's donning the mask, who's taking care of Tiffy time?
They're on different shows. No. We're not going to be jabronis, Joe. No.
That's a different show.
We got the next match, Rhea Ripley against Raquel Rodriguez. Jimmy, start us off.
I think this is an interesting choice to have in that location. Because, they have been elevating a little bit. They've been breaking down a little barriers by having the women appear on the shows in Saudi Arabia. So things are progressing there. But to progress all the way to a street fight, I think is a very interesting choice. I like the fact that Raquel Rodriguez is getting a prominent spot here. Because I know people say, oh, they deserve it. She earned it. And they've got something in Raquel Rodriguez. They got the potential to have another women's superstar in the mix. She has that potential. And to put her in the ring against someone like Rhea Ripley, I think will elevate her. And this is the opportunity in a street fight situation where you can have her come out on top, using nefarious means because she is a heel against Rhea Ripley. And again, Rhea Ripley is bulletproof. You're not going to hurt her. So this is an opportunity to, again, elevate someone like a Raquel Rodriguez in a situation where Rhea Ripley really doesn't need it at this point.
One of our promotional partners with Huge Pop, a great website and great social media account, Wrestling Republic, they posted something a few days ago where they said, oh my goodness, Night of Champions, it looks stacked. What a great card. And then I saw some fan respond and he's like, this is a terrible card. Raquel Rodriguez can't wrestle to save her life. And it absolutely boggles my mind that narrative is out there. You're talking about a second generation woman who's 6 foot tall, is a great, not good, great athlete. Okay. Tremendous body control. What's the biggest difference between Raquel Rodriguez today and Rhea Ripley 2.5 years ago? Dominic. That's it. That's the difference. Rhea was in the exact same spot. She was a background heater that almost never did anything on TV match-wise. And then she had this great storyline and got pushed to the moon. Raquel is one good story away from being a dominant piece of the puzzle. I'm of the mindset that Jimmy is. The right move here is to put Raquel over. And because it's a street fight, you can do so in a way that, I agree. Jimmy, Rhea Ripley could lose every match from here to the end till Christmas. And it won't hurt her one bit. She'll still get a massive ovation every time she hits the curtain. But in a street fight, you're even more protected, right? Hit her with a chair, hit her with a fire extinguisher, hit her with whatever the hell you want, hit her with the Slim Jim table. I don't care. But There's so many opportunities to do whatever. If Sami Zayn wins his match, Rhea Ripley cannot win hers. You can't have two underdogs both lose on the same show because you're not building anybody. If you have the two incumbents that are super, because these matches are parallel, they're very similar. You have two super over individuals against underneath people looking to prove themselves. If both of the underneath people lose, WWE is shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, I can't say it better myself. That's what should happen there. Another good match here is Solo Sikoa up against Jacob Fatu. Let's go with Donnie in this one.
New champion, let's go! New champion, let's go! Solo is my tribal chief. Let's go. Absolutely 100%. Is it going to happen? Probably not. No. But that's what I want to see because I love me some Solo. If you've been watching WWE television for the last 2.5 months and you don't think Solo Sikoa is entertaining, turn off the TV. You don't like wrestling. Okay? Just turn off the TV. You don't like wrestling. Solo is entertaining, and he's doing it as a true heel. And there's all these people online saying, oh, he sucks. He hasn't won a match in Solo. Who cares? He's a heel. He doesn't need to win. The fact that he never wins and he's still so prominent shows you how damn good he is. This guy went from being the Temu version of the tribal chief, okay, which that whole gimmick was meant to troll the audience. Here's this kid that used to be the background heater, and all of a sudden, I'm the tribal chief. So how are the fans going to respond? Boo, you're garbage. We want Roman. That program, that whole storyline, elevated Solo in the eyes of the audience from a background player to a central figure, and it totally flipped Roman babyface. If you think that Roman turned himself babyface, you're an idiot. Solo Sikoa turned him babyface because he walked out of WrestleMania 40 as the loser and a heel. And the very next night on Raw, or on TV, when Solo's going, I'm the tribal chief, what did the fans do? We want Roman. We want... Solo Sikoa needs his flowers.
So in other words, Jimmy, what Donnie's saying is Donnie loves Solo. I love you, Solo Sikoa.
That's love you, Solo.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
That's exactly what Donnie's saying. He loves Solo Sikoa. And on that note, I agree that if you look for someone who has showed great improvement, and not only just in his work in the ring, on the mic, you see a new level of confidence almost every week with Solo Sikoa. He is hitting his marks, his facial expressions, especially. It's not only, see, people forget that, and Donnie could attest to this because he teaches promo classes. When you're doing promos and you're talking on the mic, it's not only the words you say, it's how you say your words and your facial expressions that go along with it. Solo has improved that so well that it just seems natural. It doesn't feel like he's cutting a wrestling promo. He feels like he's talking as Solo Sikoa, and he believes what he's saying, and that's great. That being said, this match I think is going to be very interesting. Obviously, JC Mateo having probably a little bit of an interest in this and probably will get involved. That being said, Jacob Fatu is just in another level right now, especially in the eyes of the audience. I agree with Donnie that I can't see him dropping the United States Championship right now, but at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot of shenanigans to continue this rivalry going forward. This may come to conclusion at SummerSlam, but this is going to be a big-time setup match for that.
Again, I think the absolute right decision here is to switch the title. Jacob doesn't need it, and it will do so much for Solo. And listen, Jimmy hinted at something. JC Mateo is a wild card in this whole situation, but recently shown up for the first time on television after 12 months, Hekuleu. Okay? Hekuleu, and I had a little birdie tell me the Tama Tonga has been cleared.
Yes.
So, could we see the return of Tama Tonga? Could we see the return of Tongaloa? Could we see Hekuleu? If you got all those big hosses in there, and they're all contributing to make Jacob's night a rough one, he ain't leaving with that hardware. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Or could we see the return of Roman? If you're mentioning all those guys.
No, Roman's not going to Saudi Arabia.
No, not Saudi Arabia, but, it's bloodline again. It continues on there. So
eventually down the line. Yeah. I could see this ending somewhere down the line in you never know, another Bloodlines rules match, because it kind of almost fits in with these two.
The interesting thing, though, is Solo almost feels like he's graduated past the bloodline. Like this new thing he's doing is not Bloodline. They don't call it Bloodline.
Right.
They need a new name for whatever his faction is. It needs its own thing. But, Roman definitively defeated Solo to become the tribal chief, the first Netflix episode of Raw. And they don't need to touch each other again for the rest of the year, especially if Solo's the United States champion and raising hell as a mid-card act. I think that's a great spot for him and the rest of the Tongans.
And one thing I forgot to mention, a friend of mine told me about Roxanne Perez and Rhea Ripley and Raquel. What about if, Roxanne Perez with Raquel Rodriguez and Dominic form a new Latino heat? They're all Spanish, and one of my guys suggested that can happen, because if you saw Monday, Raquel Rodriguez came to save, or Roxanne Perez saved Raquel Rodriguez, so maybe they're going along that line, because Liv Morgan's gone for 6-8 months, so, and they still never told you what's going to happen with the tag team titles, so I'll put it that way. Now, let's talk about the king and queen of the ring. Let's first start off with a queen. This is interesting to me because Asuka coming back, they put her in the final up against Jade Cargill, and Naomi's still lurking around there. Let's go with Donnie in this one. Who do you like in this one?
Well, the internet prediction is overwhelmingly in favor of Asuka. She's returning. She's the Empress of Tomorrow. She's definitely on a short list of the best female wrestlers in WWE history. No doubt. One of my personal favorites of all time. That all being said, I think Jade Cargill should win. I think Jade is up there with what Jimmy was talking about when he mentioned Solo Sikoa. I think Jade Cargill is one of the most improved performers in the ring over the last 18 months. And the fans go, "Oh, she sucks. She still can't wrestle." Blah, 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 blah. Man, you guys don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. She learned so much, in my mind, from her tag work with Bianca in terms of how to be a babyface, how to fire up, how to work the crowds,
how to sell.
Her moments between moves, she's actually like giving stuff time to breathe. The match she had on Monday Night Raw with Roxanne Perez, I know people love Roxanne. Oh, she's such a great wrestler. She's so good. She's so good. Why are they making her lose to Jade? Regardless of what the result of that match was, Jade outworked Roxanne Perez. And if you don't think so, you're welcome to come at me, but you're wrong. She outworked Roxanne Perez. She told the better story. In fact, she carried the thread of the whole story, did Jade Cargill. I love when a king or queen makes the gimmick part of their character, and I could 100% see Jade pulling that off. Typically, you like the king or queen to be a heel. This could be the thing that makes her heel. If she's fully done with Naomi. If she's not done with Naomi, you can't make her heel. Right. If there's any plan to put her back together with Bianca, you can't have her win this match. But I think that the time for Jade is now. And Jade in a title match at SummerSlam sounds like good business to me.
All right, Jimmy.
That's interesting. I was almost on the other side until listening to Donnie. Now he almost convinced me that that's the. It's a tough decision, like you said. Asuka returning from a long absence. People want to see her be in that title picture. They want to see her in that match. But then again, you have to think of what's best for business long term, because Jade does have a storyline with Naomi, with Bianca, being in that mix for how long now? And she has shown improvement. And I know people are, like Donnie said, people are complaining how she isn't good in the ring. I got news for you. She's just fine in the ring.
Yeah, she's totally solid.
She's solid. And that's the other little things that she's learned along the way, like Donnie said, about presentation, taking her time, pacing, selling, facial expressions, every little thing as she has improved on. That being said, I can see Jade being the person to go. Her presence, what really sold me with what Donnie said was, I can imagine her coming out of, for her entrance in that smoke and all that stuff, and the lights coming up and her looking like a goddess with that crown on. Just from a visual alone, you sold me.
Although now that you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, well, an empress is kind of like a queen.
Well, Io Sky and her on Raw, and like we said, Naomi and Jade still have unfinished business. Let's put it back.
And that's the thing. A lot of people are talking about how, they're doing this to set up Io versus Asuka. And that's fine. But is that the money match for SummerSlam?
No.
There's no heat, right? There's no heat. It's two BFFs that are going to fight. There's no heat. So that's not the match I want. If anything, I would love to see Jade go over, Asuka get pissed, and now Asuka's in Io's corner for that match. Asuka screws Io. Now we have heat.
Mm-hmm.
This is long-term booking, by the way. Anybody who's listening to this, okay?
It's 1 month out.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the King of the Ring. This week, Cody Rhodes beating, Uce, then going up against another former friend or current friend, Randy Orton. Donnie, who you call as the King of the Ring?
This is tough. And one of the reasons it's tough is I love the idea of King Cody. I love the idea of Cody winning and having this start to descend him into a little bit of madness. And he made a comment at the Fanatics convention that he thinks his time as a babyface is coming to an end. I think that would be fantastic. However, the damn stipulation on these king and queens that you get a SummerSlam title match makes me think the winner is not doing a heel turn, because both of the champions are heels. So that's not happening. That all being said, could Cody still win this match and go away with it? Yes. I've told Jimmy before on an episode of Huge Pop, I'm dying to see Randy versus John Cena again, because critically, Randy versus John Cena in St. Louis this year was light years better than WrestleMania with John versus Cody. It was light years better.
Right. And
Randy Orton, Jimmy has said this many times, is the most complete professional wrestler on earth. This is tough, man. I mean, you make Randy the runner-up to King of the Ring 2 years in a row.
That's why I think Randy can win. And there's a thing that nobody's talking about, and I know what Donnie's going to put me down here and all that. Goldberg, Gunter. I just don't think he's going to come for one match and retire. I think they're going to give him maybe the title for a week or 2 weeks, because between Saturday Night Main Event and SummerSlam is 2 weeks.
They've already announced it's Gunther's last match.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not Gunther, Goldberg's last match. They've already announced it's Goldberg's last match. So those fan theories can go out the window. And plus, with Goldberg versus Gunther, I know we're going to talk about that, or maybe we won't talk about that, but Goldberg versus Gunther. Listen, Gunther is going to be lucky to get out of there injury free. So I don't
talking
think
to Bret Hart. I see. Never mind.
No, I'm not actually, because Bret's whatever. I'm talking about, like, by Goldberg's own admission, he doesn't have the wind right now to work.
Right.
He's struggling to run the ropes. He's struggling because he's almost 60.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but Father Time is undefeated. Does he look incredible for a man his age walking around? Hell yes. He looks phenomenal. But that's different than ring shape. And Gunther is a freaking cardio machine. So I don't see any scenario. I know everyone, Goldberg's going to win and then Seth's going to cash in. That could happen, of course. To me, it's a stupid choice if that's what happens. Really stupid choice.
I would rather have Seth cash in on Gunther.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
If they're planning a cash in, that's the one that makes the most sense to me. And you can protect Goldberg in this one because you have all the outside players with Seth who can take care of Goldberg. He comes to cash in and make it a 3-way, kind of like they did. Was it here? I think it was here when they did the Money in the Bank with Drew, where he came to cash in and made it automatically a 3-way. And what happens in a 3-way? There's no disqualifications.
Right.
Now you protect everybody. Anyway.
And you know what? Like, to me, that booking that is all over the internet of Goldberg beats Gunther and then the cash in, that the only way that can possibly happen is if everyone in the WWE is out to get Goldberg and embarrass him. His last night ever, and you're going to screw him. A cash in comes across as a screw job, right?
Yeah.
You won the title and 30 seconds later you're dropping it. It's a screw job, right? So that's his last night in the business. That's what he brought out his wife and kid to watch. I think it's better to nobly go out on your sword and then raise your hand to the crowd and be like, I tried, but I'm 100 years old. But all that being said, Cody versus Cena seems to be the direction that they're going to go. I would prefer Randy versus Cena. So to me, this one, if you're doing a Vegas line, it's a complete pick 'em. I don't know. Jim, what do you think?
Me personally, like you said, I'd love to see Randy versus Cena one more time. Those guys have a history. There's a story built in with Randy wanting to not only catch Cena as the most world champion title reigns, but also surpass him. And this would be another step towards that. But that being said, Joe brought up an interesting point about what happened last year at King of the Ring in the finals with Randy and Gunther. It was a controversial finish.
Yep.
And it worked in favor of the heel. Now, if we were to have some kind of similar controversial finish where Cody, instead of being the honorable babyface, takes advantage of the situation and does come out ahead, now you have the beginnings of what people were hoping for is the eventual Cody heel turn. And then he goes on to face John Cena at SummerSlam. Something happens there. And again, he gets screwed out of that opportunity to become champion once again. And that sets him and sends him off the rails.
It's possible. Yeah.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there, spitballing.
Although I will say, if Randy gets screwed 2 years in a row in the King of the Ring finals on a technicality, to me, I'd want him to go heel. I'd want him to go scorched earth. But but at the same time, I don't see that on the bingo card right now because he's so good in his current role. Like he's so good.
But he could be like, if I may, Donnie, he could be like that old Stone Cold Steve Austin type character where he ends up RKOing everybody, like Steve used to stun everybody, and the place would go banana.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Pat Patterson. Yes.
So what, and I'm going to say this, I know we have one more match to talk about, but John Cena, 17-time champion. What is preventing him to be an 18, 19. Why can't he lose the belt?
He can. I said this on Huge Pop in my mind, because now, if my math is correct, we're down to 15 appearances for the rest of John's career. I think that's right. Might be 14.
Yeah. 14, 15, doesn't matter, but go ahead.
It's going to matter when we're down to 2. So at this stage, it does matter, especially when you're projecting out the rest of the calendar year. In my mind, because I know everyone's like, oh, he's not going to lose the belt till his last match. That's terrible booking in my mind. I don't like that. I would rather see him lose it soon, go away for a few weeks, and then when people got him out of his mind, then bring him back again, and then, let the reaction be what the reaction is, because they're cheering him anyways. And now maybe the last quarter of the year, the people are just with him, and he's just going on this revenge tour for the last few months, culminating with Saturday night's main event in Boston.
Well, that's the one thing I want to tell you. It's from what I have heard, like Donnie said, a little birdie, he is going to retire as the champion, and the winner of the Royal Rumble will become the next champion. That's what I
promise you. That's not happening. Your birdie is drunk. I promise you. You can quote me. If that happens, Joe, you can have my car. That's not
what
happening.
car is it?
Oh, you don't want his car.
You don't want his car. All right.
No, it's too big.
Again,
it's too big. It's this big SUV thing.
In Saudi Arabia, something funny always happens. All right. And Royal Rumble next year. Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, as far as this match goes, obviously, I think John Cena emerges still champion. However that happens, I think the match will be entertaining with CM Punk and him, because these guys are two pros that know how to take their time. They don't have to do twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splashes to get a reaction. These guys can get a reaction just by standing there and staring at each other, a la Hulk Hogan and The Rock. That being said, I can envision, and again, I'm fantasy booking here, John Cena ending his term in WWE, still WWE champion, Universal, whatever you want to call it, as he is taking his curtain call. Someone's music hits. If you smell what I'm cooking, he comes out to the ring and asks for the title belt. You fulfilled your obligations to me. You sold your soul. Now it's time for you to hand over my property. John Cena says, wait a minute. Yes, I did this for you. I sold my soul, but this property does not belong to you. It still belongs to me, and I'm taking it with me and whatever. And they get into it, and maybe you see a little more of Cena after that as champion, and The Rock somehow ends up with the title, and we finally get our Cody Rock match that we've been waiting for, because it ties back to WrestleMania 40. Night 1, Rock pinned Cody, and we still didn't get that match. Is that a money match that could work for WrestleMania 42?
Well, doesn't everybody want to see The Rock and Roman?
I don't even know if people want that anymore.
Yeah, I think that ship might have sailed.
Because you double down, right? Never mind. All right.
So here's the thing. What I will say is this, Joe, just to go back to what I said a second ago. I'm not 100% sure as of today who the next WWE champion will be. I disagree with your comment that the next champion will win his 18th title. It will not be the champion who has won so many times in the past. His name is Vacant. I do not believe Vacant will win his 18th title, because the WWE / world titles have been vacated 17 times previously. I do not believe that Vacant will win the 18th title and then have it decided at the Royal Rumble. That is the worst piece of business possible. What is the number one job of a star leaving the territory?
To drop the belt.
You got to make someone on the way out, kid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you suck. To quote our friend Al Snow, that Jimmy and I are going to be spending some time with this week, It's not about who you beat. It's about who you made.
Mm-hmm.
And John Cena has helped make a lot of people. But if nobody gets elevated by him dropping the title and he literally goes home with it, this entire year was a waste. Someone has to come out of this stronger on the back end, and it's not by winning the Royal Rumble and becoming new champion.
Right.
So I will bet my house that doesn't happen.
Now, first it was his car, now it's his house. Is his house better than his car, Jimmy?
Yeah,
I'll bet
he's elevating his game right now. Yeah.
All right, don't forget, Night of Champions happens this Saturday, 1 p.m., Saudi Arabia. Before we close it out, I'm going to ask you a couple questions that everybody's talking about in the wrestling world. People are now saying there'll be 2 WrestleManias a year. My question to Donnie, I know, look, it's him shaking his head. He's going to make me look like a mark, an idiot, whatever. There's night 1 of WrestleMania. Then there's night 2 of WrestleMania. Is there going to be night 3 of WrestleMania, night 4 of WrestleMania? And there's like 75 premier live events. And AEW has pay-per-views that last 4 hours and a half and all this.
They wait a minute. They cut their times on their pay-per-views.
I was going to say 4.5 hours. That's the shortest AEW pay-per-view ever.
Yeah, but that's Canadian time, not American time.
Exchange rate, right?
Yeah, exactly. Can we take another 2-night WrestleMania?
No, it's not going to happen. Look, I saw that same story, and always when I see these ridiculous stories, I check the source. Oh, it's Sportskeeda. All right, GFY. No, you don't believe anything you read online from a clickbait website, folks. You don't. No. Don't even waste your time. Do you know how much time Jimmy and I spent talking about this rumor? 0.000 seconds. Because we both probably saw it and said, this is nonsense. Now, is it possible that one day WrestleMania could add a 3rd night? Could WrestleMania turn into a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event? 100%. Could they decide that SmackDown, the week of WrestleMania, is part of WrestleMania? Sure, they could. Will they? I don't see it. But could they? Yes, they could. Could they, in theory, add another 2-night PLE? Well, we know they're doing SummerSlam.
SummerSlam, yep.
It makes more sense than it should to do a 2-night Royal Rumble. But other than that, I don't see it because you don't want to oversaturate. The market is already oversaturated. Almost every weekend, we've got 2 pay-per-views from somewhere in the wrestling world. When there's a weekend with no pay-per-view, I take a deep breath and go, oh, thank God. Thank God. Mm-hmm. I can go outside and get some sun, But no, there will never be 2 WrestleManias in the same calendar year. I'll bet Jimmy's house on that one.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to ask you, the next time you guys are going to be on the Fired Up Network is July 11th. And July 11th, we have All In, and we also have NXT Great American Bash, and we have Saturday Night Main Event, and then July 12th we have Evolution. Now, wow. I'm gonna ask this question to Jimmy, and I know what Donnie's gonna say. So,
before you do that, July 11th, when you guys are talking All In, I'm sick that day.
Yeah.
That episode's gonna be longer than an AEW pay-per-view.
That's right. That's right. So I'm just speaking about July 11th, 3 p.m. we got AEW. 3 p.m. we got NXT. Jimmy, I'm going to forget about Saturday Night Main Event because all of us are probably going to watch at 8 o'clock Saturday Night Main Event. All right. 3 p.m. NXT or AEW, considering AEW is like their WrestleMania. All right. Mm-hmm. What would you be watching? Forget about give me 2 TVs, 4 TVs, 2 cars, whatever. What would you be watching?
To be completely honest with you, on the TV, on the main screen, I will have AEW All In. But on the smaller screen, somewhere in the background and kind of keeping an eye on it, I will have the NXT as well. Because I'm not one of these people. I hate going back to watch. The only thing I like about going back to watch is you can fast forward through it.
Yeah.
But I feel that when you fast forward through stuff, you miss stuff. whether it's good or bad or otherwise, you end up missing stuff that could become discussion points.
Could.
Especially, you know what I mean? Like whether it's something that, from a psychology standpoint, say, wait a minute, that didn't make sense. Or something else that we go, oh, that was really good. Love to talk about that. And why? Anyway, that's why I don't like the go back and watch, because I tend to fast forward through stuff and I end up missing, even through promos. Sometimes you miss something that's said in a promo. I don't want to sit, especially if a promo segment's 20 minutes. I don't want to sit there through a 20-minute promo when I have the option of clicking click FF.
So I hear. I don't know. I'm going to ask Donnie. Right? Donnie has an hour free from like 7 to 8 before Saturday night main event. What about having a promotion super kick on that Saturday? Because you're not doing anything from 7 to 8, Donnie.
The super kick calendar is pretty stacked as it is right now, so I think we're good. But I will say that I think it's funny that Jimmy's justification for why he's going to watch All In live is my justification for why I'm not, because I'm fine with missing stuff. I'm totally fine with it. When there's 14 matches on the card and they're all 22 minutes in length and they all have 77 false finishes and they end in schoolboys, I don't need to give them my attention for that amount of time. And ultimately, when I have to make those kinds of choices, for me, I'm going to err on the side of what most wrestling fans are watching. And most wrestling fans are watching WWE. So I'm going to give that my priority as a watch so that my level of analysis is going to be better in that respect. I'm so grateful for the fact that my partner is so dedicated to watching AEW, because whatever I miss, I know he'll pick it up. But I try to get the gist of whatever's happening. But my dear God, when a pay-per-view is 5.5 hours, and then there's an hour and a half post-show press conference, which is just
an hour late.
Which is just nothing. But I watch it because I'm a professional. Oh, for the love of God. It's just a big circle jerk. Stop blowing yourselves and let's do something productive here.
I got to jump in just for a second here, Donnie, because obviously there's a perception online that, if you guys are just AEW haters and stuff like that, and you guys are constantly back. There's a difference between constructive criticism and bashing, which people, you say something that is connoted as negative, all of a sudden you're a hater. No. And why aren't you so critical of WWE as hard? Or why aren't you as harsh on WWE as you are on AEW? Let me put it to you this way. Right now, between the two companies, which one needs less help with gaining an audience and moving forward? One guy over here is kind of doing okay. So whatever critique you're going to give them, they ain't going to listen, right? Because they've got it figured out. They've found their lane. The other guys that can use some critique should listen to whoever is talking, whether they could use it or not, whether they agree with it or not, whatever the case may be. So if I'm a little bit harsher on them, it's because I feel they need a little more encouragement. They need a little more coaching. Maybe something I say will spark something. Maybe something another veteran will say will spark something in them and say, hey, you know what? So-and-so said this. Maybe we should think about that. That's all. Instead of fluffing it off as, he's just an old man screaming at clouds. Blah. He's just a shill for the other guys. Blah. No. I have no vested interest in anybody. Nobody's paying me a check. I'm not getting the blue check from Stanford. I don't care. I'm just trying to help. And if people can't see that, well, that's your problem.
That vein, you could say, you said it, 14 matches on AEW. WWE has gone less on every Premier Live event. They got 5-6 matches, and these guys got 14, 15 matches.
No, the WWE PLEs have been capped at 5, and most of them have 4. I'm hot that this one has 6.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, Hunter? You're killing me.
They might go all the way to 3 hours.
Come on, bro. I'm trying to get on with my Saturday.
And here's the final question. Jimmy, we talk about AEW, but I'm going to ask you, how many titles does Mercedes Moné need? Because if she wins another title, she's like 6-belt champion.
I think there is a title somewhere in the Netherlands that she doesn't have. So maybe she can go. Iceland has one as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How many titles is too many titles? And when is she going to defend 8 titles?
That's the problem. What does she do now? She wins one title and she automatically gives up the others, so she's got to travel to all these places to drop these titles individually. And what does that mean if that happens?
But here's the thing that no one is talking about with Mercedes Moné. What's her gimmick in AEW? At this stage, her gimmick is she never loses and she's the champion of everything. That's her entire identity as a character. Does that remind you of anyone? Maybe someone who's going to be making their return at Saturday night's main event? Where his entire character was based on never losing. And what happened to that individual when he lost? He never recovered his momentum because everything he did was all based on the fact that he was undefeated. And the second he took a BS loss, his steam was gone. We talk about how some people are bulletproof. He was made of paper mache. It was all smoke and mirrors with Goldberg. Okay? And then what happens? He goes in his WWE career. He may have lost as many matches as he won in his entire WWE career. So when his music hits, he still gets the pop from the old heads. But once he starts going, you're like, that's not so good, is it? Obviously, Mercedes Moné can go a little bit more than Goldberg. But her entire gimmick is based on those belts. Remember when FTR had like 3 sets of tag titles? And then within a week, they were all gone? Now they look naked. And now they're not on TV anymore. They went from being on TV with 3 sets of tag belts to being off TV for months. And then the next time they show up, guess what? They look like 2 short guys. They just look completely generic and ridiculous. Mercedes is running this risk right now of making her entire character about the belts. That's a bad place to be for a pro wrestler.
I'm going to talk to my CEO and maybe she'll agree. All right. So that's it. All right. Well, an hour of riveting show here. Now, Donnie, tell everybody what they can expect on Huge Pop Radio, the show here. And I hear some guy from Brooklyn. I think that guy from Brooklyn should make SummerSlam. Come in SummerSlam, and since it's in New York, right? Come on. Go ahead, Donnie.
If they need someone to manage the pre-tapes backstage, I think the Brooklyn Brawler might be available. If you want someone to get in and take a bump, I think we have other guys available. But yes, the Brooklyn Brawler did sit down with Jimmy and I this week on Huge Pop. You can check out the interview right now at hugepopradio.com. It's on the Fired Up Network. You can check it out all across any major podcast provider. Jimmy ran into him recently in Quebec for a convention, and they reconnected after many years. And we said, "Hey, Brawler, come join us." And okay, I love you, Jimmy. I'll come talk to you. So that's the way that all went down. And then coming up in the next couple of weeks, Jimmy and I just did a fantastic hour-long interview with Damian Sandow, the intellectual savior of the masses, and we are going to be doing a sit-down face-to-face in person on Friday with Al Snow, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. We've interviewed Al already a couple times on Huge Pop. You can go check out the archives, but he's always great.
The beautiful thing about Al Snow is every time you talk to him, you can't help but learn something new.
100%.
His brain, he's just on another level when it comes to his knowledge and his experience in wrestling.
Hey, what do you guys know? Hey, you know what I think? I think this is the shits.
Should ask Aaron how do you like babysitting Santino Morella's kids? Put it that way.
Oh, he loves it.
He loved it, but
oh yeah, he loves helping him clear out. You'll hear about it. Don't worry.
That's it. All right. So tell everybody, Jimmy, how they could get a hold of you social media wise, and Donnie, once again, Huge Pop Radio. So go ahead, Jimmy, first.
Yeah, of course, you can catch me on all my social media platforms at Jimmy Corderas on Twitter, at Real Jimmy Corderas on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. I do my ref and rants daily from Monday to Friday. Again, like I said, little critiques, little things that I think could help tighten some screws here and there. You can agree with me if you like. If you don't agree, you're wrong. But anyway, and of course, Huge Pop Radio every week with my good brother Donnie Da Silva. We bring it down like Donnie said. We have some great guests on. We have some interesting conversations. It's not interview, it's a conversation, and that's what I love most about it. And I get to reconnect with some old buddies too. That's the best part for me.
All right.
And for me, I think I have pretty much all the socials that are out there, but really the only place to get at me is Instagram. That's just where I live. So on Instagram, it's Donnie DONNIE .da Silva. That's DA, not D apostrophe. I don't even think apostrophes work. So Donnie Da Silva. And then for the show itself, it's Huge Pop Show at Huge Pop Show. Do not go to any other Instagram account labeled as Huge Pop. Those guys are haters and posers and wannabes and just trying to live off our success. But at Huge Pop Show, you can find that on Instagram. And yeah, we're always growing and building, and we would love to have more people from the Fired Up Nation come and hang out with us.
And Donnie, final question, not about wrestling, because I know you're a big basketball fan. Just last night, the draft took place, round 1. What do you think of the Raptors draft pick?
Oh, fuck that kid. No, they. When I saw the reaction of that kid getting drafted, I'm like, this is the most disingenuous prick of a young man that I have seen in a long time. When you see a kid audibly curse at the fact that a team just drafted him, to hell with you. To hell with you. We don't need a 6'7" forward that can't shoot. We have lots of those. So you know what? To hell with you. I don't understand. At some point, I have friends that work for the Raptors, and I've had a chance to get to know Masai a little bit over the years, especially when I used to do my old basketball show. I would love to find out how Masai Ujiri, who has been such an advocate for the African basketball stars, how he didn't take that 7-footer that was on the board and everybody wanted. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be gone by the time the Raptors picked. And then they decided to take a 6'6" kid that can't shoot. I don't get it. And a kid that clearly wasn't happy to come to Toronto.
Okay, I'm gonna be fair to Jimmy here, because it looks like next week Mitch Marner's turn with the Maple Leafs for like 15 years has come to an end. All right.
Good.
Yes.
Listen, this is Jimmy. All right. You had your chance with basketball.
Okay.
Right? This is
Yeah,
Jimmy.
you got your shit in. It's my turn.
All right. That's right. Okay. Give me your thoughts about Mitch Marner, and give me your thoughts about losing Mitch Marner. It looks like they're going to lose John Tavares. They have lost Borja Salmi. They have lost Brad Marsh. They have lost all this. Are they going to win the Stanley Cup by 2036? That's all I want to know.
2036. Hopeful, but I'm not. I'm not betting anything on that. I'm not betting a car or a house. I'm not even betting my cell phone. Mitch Marner, talented player who doesn't have a heart, is not a playoff player. Bottom line. John Tavares hurts because John Tavares is a guy with heart, and you could see he played with passion here. It's just that he didn't have a supporting cast, and he was. I felt bad for him when the C was removed and given to Austin Matthews, and it's not a shot at Austin Matthews, but he's not a leader. John Tavares is a leader, so that one's going to hurt big time. And a lot of rumors going around. Well, would you love to see Brad Marchand take the place of someone like a Mitch Marner? 1,000%. As much as I detest that guy playing against them, that's the kind of guy you'd love to have on your team. And that's what Florida does best. They built a playoff team. Where did they finish in the regular season, Joe? Where did they finish in the regular season?
Third place. The Leafs finished first, and they finished third behind Tampa.
It doesn't matter. As long as you make the playoffs, you build a playoff team, and they will get you there. That's what Florida just prove to everyone. Unfortunately, they're going to be, I don't want them to be the Kansas City Chiefs of the NHL, but hey, I'm not sorry to see Mitch go. I'm sorry. I'm not heartbroken over it at all.
You mentioned Brad Marchand, and I'm going to ask Donnie also. Okay, but $9 million a year. It looks like he wants $8.5, $9 million a year. Would you sign him if you're a Maple Leaf, Jimmy?
Would I sign him
for $9 million?
For
yes.
That's a hefty price tag. But then again, if it depends on who you have around him. Like if you needed a guy like a John Tavares to be there with him, and if you're going to lose him, like you got to keep the core players that are going to help you. There's a few guys on defense. They need to bolster that defense as well, and that's going to cost a pretty penny. So, do you take a chance on spending that much, knowing that you're not going to have as much left over in your salary cap to purchase, to bring in other players? I don't know. That's a tough call.
Donnie, what do you say for $9 million?
First of all, I just think it's hilarious when we're talking about $9 million as a big price tag, because I'm a basketball fan. $9 million doesn't get you a third string center. Like, it's so ridiculous, right? Like the scope of business in the NHL is so unbelievably opposite of the NBA, where it's like guys are now signing for 40, 43, 45 million a year. And we're talking about $9 million, a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, it is a lot of money, but in the concept of Major League Sports, it doesn't feel like it should be anymore. Would I give it to him? Yeah, I'd give it to him, because you know what? It's not my money, so I don't really care. And guess what? You got to take a swing and do something, because what they're doing isn't working. And Brad Marchand's a proven winner, and that's an intangible that you need. I do think that losing. Tavares would really hurt. No, Marner and Colin Murray Boyles can both go fuck themselves. The two of them, they can go hang out together and be BFFs. But as far as I'm concerned, Marner, when I heard his comments last week about he was hurt when he didn't get the captaincy, that statement alone shows me you're not a captain. Oh, my feelings were hurt. They didn't make me the captain. Shut up.
You know what? I'm going to tell you guys. Come next June, when the World Cup is here, we're doing another show. All right? Because I could see you're going to complain about this team and that team and every team like that. I think we should do a new soccer show just for 1 month, from June to July of the World Cup. Donnie, who do you got the World Cup in Canada, U.S., and Mexico? Who do you got winning the World Cup?
Same team I always have winning that never wins, Portugal. But the thing is, I don't give a rat's ass about soccer other than Euro Cup and World Cup, because at the end of the day, soccer is a sport for 6-year-olds. So I really don't care that much. Okay,
Jimmy, do you agree with that?
I wouldn't say 6-year-olds. I'd go up to 12. But
okay,
no, unless Greece is in the mix, I just casually watch.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network. Check out Huge Pop show here, and great interviews coming up. And enjoy Night of Champions. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Joe.
Take care, Joe.